The war in Ukraine has become a stage for powerful figures, their pronouncements echoing across the globe. US President Donald Trump, known for his unconventional diplomacy, has weighed in with characteristic bluster, addressing the Biden administration's previous handling of the conflict. Elon Musk, the tech titan behind Tesla and SpaceX, has emerged as a controversial voice, amplifying allegations of corruption against Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. And Zelenskyy himself, once a comedian thrust into the role of wartime leader, finds his leadership tested on multiple fronts, from battling Russian forces to navigating the treacherous currents of international opinion. These three men, each with their own agendas and perspectives, represent the complexities of the conflict in Ukraine. Trump, seeking to solidify his political legacy, sees an opportunity to address his predecessors' policies and promote his own brand of deal-making. Musk, with his penchant for disruption and his business interests in Russia, appears to relish challenging the established narrative. And Zelenskyy, fighting for his country's survival, must balance the need for international support with the imperative to maintain unity at home. The interplay between these figures, their words and actions, reverberating across social media and traditional news outlets, shapes the way the world perceives the war in Ukraine. Their pronouncements influence public opinion, sway political calculations, and ultimately impact the lives of millions caught in the crossfire. Understanding their motivations and the substance of their claims is essential to navigating the complexities of this conflict and its implications for the future. President Donald Trump, never one to shy away from controversy, has repeatedly criticized the previous Biden administration's financial support for Ukraine. He argues that the US was spending far too much money on the conflict, while European nations were not contributing their fair share. Trump often points to the billions of dollars in military and humanitarian aid sent to Ukraine, questioning the wisdom of such expenditures while American citizens face economic challenges at home. Trump's critics counter that his focus on financial costs ignores the strategic importance of supporting Ukraine. They argue that allowing Russia to conquer its neighbor would embolden Putin and destabilize the entire European continent. Moreover, they point out that the US has a moral obligation to assist a democracy under attack by an authoritarian regime. The debate over financial support for Ukraine reflects a broader divide within the US and the West more broadly. Some, like Trump, prioritize domestic concerns and advocate for a more isolationist foreign policy. Others believe that the US must maintain its global leadership role and actively confront threats to democracy and international order. The war in Ukraine has become a testing ground for these competing visions, with profound implications for the future of American foreign policy. Trump asserts that he is the right man to bring peace to Ukraine, contrasting with claims that Biden's policies brought war into Ukraine for a money laundering operation. Elon Musk, the billionaire entrepreneur known for his outspokenness, has inserted himself into the Ukraine conflict in a way that has both captivated and confounded observers. Musk's most controversial move was to amplify allegations of corruption against Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, questioning the Ukrainian government's use of funds provided by Western nations. These accusations, often shared through Musk's massive Twitter following, have fueled skepticism among some segments of the public about the wisdom of supporting Ukraine. Musk's critics argue that he is amplifying Russian propaganda and undermining the Ukrainian war effort. They point out that Musk has significant business interests in Russia, including his SpaceX program's reliance on Russian rocket engines. These ties, they contend, raise questions about his objectivity and motives in promoting narratives that align with the Kremlin's interests. Despite the controversy, Musk's pronouncements on Ukraine have resonated with a segment of the population disillusioned with the established political order. His skepticism of government spending, his willingness to challenge conventional wisdom, and his maverick persona have earned him a devoted following among those who distrust traditional media and political elites. In this sense, Musk's interventions in the Ukraine debate reflect a broader trend of declining trust in institutions and the rise of alternative sources of information. Section 4. Allegations of misused funds and Zelensky's challenges. The allegations of corruption within the Ukrainian government, amplified by Elon Musk and other critics of Western aid, present a significant challenge for President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. While Zelenskyy has earned international praise for his wartime leadership and his defiance in the face of Russian aggression, concerns about corruption have lingered in the background, potentially undermining support for his government. Zelensky's supporters argue that the allegations of corruption are overblown and that his government has taken steps to address them. They point out that corruption has been a long-standing problem in Ukraine, predating Zelensky's presidency, and that the current conflict has made it even more challenging to implement reforms. Moreover, they argue that focusing on corruption detracts from the more pressing issue of Russia's invasion and the need to provide Ukraine with the resources it needs to defend itself. The challenge for Zelenskyy is to maintain international support while also addressing the concerns of his own people. He must demonstrate that his government is committed to transparency and accountability while also rallying his nation to confront the existential threat posed by Russia. Failure to do so risks undermining his leadership and jeopardizing Ukraine's future. Section 5. The war's significance for Europe and the US. The war in Ukraine represents a watershed moment in international relations, with profound implications for Europe, the United States, and the global order. For Europe, the conflict has shattered decades of relative peace and prosperity, forcing a reassessment of defense spending, energy security, and relations with Russia. The influx of Ukrainian refugees has also tested social safety nets and raised questions about European identity and values. For the United States, the war has presented a complex foreign policy challenge, requiring a balancing act between supporting Ukraine, deterring Russian aggression, and avoiding direct military confrontation with a nuclear-armed power. The conflict has also exposed divisions within the US over its role in the world, with some advocating for a more assertive foreign policy while others favor retrenchment and a focus on domestic priorities. The war in Ukraine has highlighted the interconnectedness of the globalized world, demonstrating how a conflict in one region can have far-reaching consequences for the entire international system. It has also underscored the importance of alliances, the fragility of peace, and the enduring threat posed by authoritarianism. The outcome of this conflict will shape the geopolitical landscape for decades to come, influencing the balance of power, the future of democracy, and the rules governing international relations.